So, okay, so talking about complex PTSD, what we're going to look at is some things that really are attached to that in life. We've got a situation where a lot of people have been through abuse and sadnesses in childhood, and as adults, we're basically disassociating from our pain and doing things that are not helpful for us. But there are other things that we need to, in our healing, to look at and overview. There's a couple of things, and I've spoken about Pete Walker's book, which is Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving before. I know I've done this in other videos, but here's the book, and I really strongly recommend getting a copy of this because it has a map, so to speak, which means that we can guide ourselves through it. And also the beauty of this book is that it gives you time to understand what's going on inside of you, to realize that you're having a normal response to unpleasant events, and then how we can heal, which is the grieving, the angering, and the tears that we need to cry, and the mental verbalization and speaking to people that get us. But on top of that, there's another subject. I've been looking at Jordan Peterson's work, which I absolutely adore. He's very pragmatic, so he's very ideal in the way of dealing with life. And I know this myself, that we do have to look at various ways in which we live in order to heal. So it's not just one thing. And life is interesting, you know, it's like in the ways that we don't know when we're going to laugh, we don't know when we're going to cry, we don't know when we're going to be triggered by something outside ourselves. So healing is not like an arrival point, it's waves and it's cycles, and you know, there are times we're going to feel more emotional than other times. So some of the tools I would use would be, for instance, myself, I would use Faster EFT because I'm trained in that, but there are many things we can use to heal at deep levels. I also use something called hypnosis downloads, some hypnosis CDs from a company called Hypnosis Downloads. I'll put the link at the end of this video to the book, Hypnosis Downloads, and I'll run through a list I've got here, which are just pointers, things to think about that I think about and I've had to organize in my own life. And also that, you know, we're all having to be practical in matters in reality. So the first thing we can do is we can put all of our cards on a table, so to speak, and look at our lives and see what needs to be sorted out, because we can assume we've got so many problems, and the reality is we may only be stuck in one or two areas. So here's my list, and I'll go for the top one, which is putting our cards on the table, okay, looking at our lives and really establishing what is our problem, what problems do we have and what needs to be healed. Then we need to look at, in my view, to see if we have any addictions, and we all have things that are either negative or positive in the land of addictions. So, you know, you could be addicted to drinking herbal teas, which is really good, or you could be addicted to, you know, cocaine, for instance, or alcohol, and those things are going to play with our minds, and they're not going to help us if we've got complex PTSD. We need to be able to get to a point where we can release using things that are actually making our minds and our lives more painful. Next thing to look at is our sleep and our lifestyle. So, you know, it's not about, for all of us, going to bed at, you know, 10 o'clock at night to get up early. We're all different, we're all unique, so we have to figure out what works for us. But getting regular sleep and waking up at the same time every day is quite paramount in our healing. I know myself, when I was healing, I'd, you know, went through periods where I'd stay up all night and, you know, just be thinking, but that's part of our healing too. So we don't have to fix everything at once, but we need to have a map of understanding what we can do for ourselves. So sleep cycles, organized, cleaning up our lives. So that could be financial paperwork, it could be, you know, stuff that's going on in our own home, you know, getting rid of the junk out of our lives, literally, and really looking at what our needs are. Looking at our food, nutrition, and diet and exercise. And those things can seem overwhelming, But I know myself, you know, I had an allergy that came up. When I stopped drinking, I got an allergy symptom, which for me, I believe mainly it was emotional, but it meant that I had to have surgery on my septum because I'd had an allergy to dust mites, apparently. But, you know, for me, it's when that appeared in my life, it was 3 months after me stopping consuming alcohol in 2012, and I can see the emotional aspects to that. So cleaning up, you know, literally is really important with the food and nutrition, and putting good foods into our body. You know, drinking water, something I did this week, you know, because it's like we drink water and we don't keep a record of how much water we're getting. So what I did was I bought this water bottle here, and it holds 700 mils of water, and that's 1.5 liters. 2 bottles of this is 1.5 liters. This means I know I'm getting 1.5 liters of water a day once I've had 2 bottles of this. So, you know, eating fruits really important, and vegetables. It sounds really boring and something that a doctor might say, but these things affect our brain function. What else? We've got our work having meaning and purpose, and that's not possible for all of us. Sometimes we're having to do work that we don't like, but we can have a map or a plan where we're working towards getting into work that we actually do love and enjoy. And that takes thinking ahead, you know. We have our money, you know, understanding how much goes out of our life each week and how much we need to bring in, and then clearing up any debts as much as possible, because that can be very stressful for us as human beings. The inner critic, the voice in our head that tells us how rubbish we are, and that talks to us maybe like our abusers might have done, you know. We have to know that we've got to change the way we speak to ourselves, and that's a process. I teach that to people now as well, how to do that. And there's information out there, and on hypnosis downloads, you can buy one for the inner critic, you know, and listen to it as you're going off to sleep, and you can retrain your brain through listening to material as you're going off to sleep. And then we also, and I know this to be true, we need to look at any emotions that are anything that's more than a year old. And Jordan Peterson says this, and I heard it a few weeks ago, and it's a brilliant truth, that if we have anything that we're playing in our heads, and we do this with complex PTSD, which is our response, we play over memories, we loop them, and we suffer. So we've got to learn to somehow be able to, you know, face the ones that are causing us suffering, and get to a point where we know how to handle it. We know what the truth is as an adult, and deal with the emotional complexities around that. And there are various ways of dealing with that as well. And, you know, we can begin to, you know, multitask in our healing with all of these tips. And, you know, if we do these things in 6 months, in a year's time, we can be a completely different person. I know that to be true because that's happened for me. So we need to articulate our pains to somebody. We need to be able to speak about our wins to somebody that's going to get us, and somebody who's going to help us plan our way out of our pain. Other things we can do is we can journal. We can basically get a journal and put in good things that happen to us, you know. You can basically put in pictures, all sorts of things. It's not for everybody, but it's a tip to, you know, maybe note what lovely things have happened during the day, and maybe what beautiful things people have said to you, the compliments, because we forget the good stuff and we tend to hang on to the bad stuff. So writing also about how we feel. If we can't directly tell somebody how we feel, writing about it will get it out of our system. And that's a good way to heal our stuff. I'm quite public in my writing. I'll say things I think. I do it on Facebook. I'm not shy, but not everybody can do that because they have family or friends or family on Facebook, so they can't say what they're really feeling. They have to hide parts of themselves. So I think that's really it, but I'll put the links. Hypnosis Downloads is a brilliant one, PTSD book, and I might put the link to that video I found about the 18 months of, you know, any memories that are more than a year to 18 months old, how to address that as well. Anyway, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this little video. You can find me at my Letting Go Techniques, which is Penelope Ryder Letting Go Techniques page. I do sessions with Faster EFT, NLP, mentoring, coaching, mentoring, and planning a future. That's what I do. And I think that we're here to heal so that we can have a good time, you know, as much as possible. Life is partly suffering and it's partly good, but if it's all suffering, then that's not good. And we need to know that and start taking responsibility and cleaning up and getting to a place where most days are good and something to look forward to. Thanks. Catch you later.